Albert AWOL, the voice of the jungle, broadcasting on the DVC to all points unknown. If you're within the sound of my voice, you're listening to Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Hello and welcome home. Thank you for joining us on episode 168 of Welcome Home, a Disney Parks and Vacation Club podcast. I'm Tom. I'm here with Trevor. No Damon tonight. Well, I guess today, whenever you're listening to this, right?
Yeah. He is. Yeah, it's tonight for us. We're doing this on a Saturday night. Damon is being the. I don't even know what I would call it. He's like being
swim
like
dad.
Dad. Yeah, yeah.
Swim dad.
Being there for his kids, which absolutely takes priority over this. So good for him.
So, but in general, he may show up. We have no idea. He could just show up at some point. He may not come, but he also went through our rundown and just threw in his own comments in there. So
we'll see as we're going through this. I haven't read all the notes yet, but we'll try to bring stuff up where we can. And if he jumps in, he jumps in.
Yeah. It would have been nice if we would have marked his comments a little bit better in here than just throwing them in line. But what are you going to do? Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So we got no Damon this week. Man, I know Damon said something on the Facebook page about the Dr. Teeth episode doing better than the last one, but that actually wasn't necessarily true. I'm sure you saw we were top 15 in Canada. We're number 15 in Canada, which was amazing. And then high in the States. And I was just telling you before this, we ended up at number 3 in all of travel podcasts in Switzerland. Because
got a shout out to our Switzerland listeners.
So weird, man. I mean, there was a time for a while too that we were like top 10 in Brazil a lot, and that just kind of fell off. And I know there was always that thing with like the Brazilian tour groups and all that stuff, but it just was showing up to the parks. But it just was always funny to me that we ended up really high in Brazil. So if you're listening to us in Brazil or Switzerland for that matter, send us an email, please.
Yeah, say hi.
Yeah, please. Yeah. We want to hear from you because, I always go back to. Do you remember we kept seeing that we were like charting in Kuwait, and I was like, "Who's listening to us in Kuwait?" That has to be an error, right? And then we got an email from a guy in Kuwait that was like, "Yeah, I'm listening to you guys." He
was deployed there and just happened to listen to the podcast. So
I mean, it was the greatest thing. It was one of my favorite things ever. So that was such a cool thing. But anyway. So Alicia wrote us. Yeah, do you want to read this? Is this technically a question for you, Trevor?
It is. So Alicia says, hi guys, big fan of the show. I've been listening pretty much since the beginning. Your podcast is one of my primary sources of not just DVC news, but all other things Disney too. She says she commutes at least an hour every day for the last 7 years for grad school. So I'm glad that we've made your commute easier. So the question she has for me is, her husband and her are going to Alani for the first time this summer and are making a stop in Disneyland for a few days on their way there. It's been about 10 years since she was at Disneyland, and unfortunately, she was only there for a few hours and hasn't really been there since she was 5 or 6. And her husband's never been. They'll be there for 3 days, and she's trying to decide if they should do 2 days at Disneyland and 1 day at California Adventure, or vice versa. What are some of the must-do attractions, dining, and shows? And she is aware of the fact that some of the there is some duplicate rides that have the Disneyland versus Disney World twist, and which ones to prioritize. So, okay, talking specifically about rides. In Disneyland proper, okay, first of all, keep in mind, I haven't been since they've redone Pixar Pier, so this might be a little different now, but my opinion is I would do 2 days in Disneyland and 1 day in California Adventure. I don't feel there's quite enough stuff in California Adventure to keep you there for a couple of days, but it's definitely worth dedicating a day to it. Now, in terms of the attractions, so the big ones that I would focus on that aren't in Disney World are Matterhorn and Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones has Dinosaur, or I know Dinosaur is the same ride. But
not really, though.
It's very different. Yeah, it feels very different. So
what about like Mr. Toad's Wild Ride? Like, what about that? Like, that's the you gotta have.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess. Sorry, I don't know if Alicia's actually like, because if you had ridden Mr. Toad's when it was in
that's fair, yeah.
Disney World, yeah, it's not any different.
Yeah, but it hasn't existed at Disney World for quite a long time now.
Right,
I mean, it's been
But so again, this is stuff that I would prioritize. So Matterhorn is definitely a priority. I know a lot of people say it's a little too bumpy and whatever, but I still think it's a very fun roller coaster, and they've done some cool updates to it with it's got a better Yeti than Expedition Everest does. So I would look at that, look at Indy. Yeah, the dark rides are definitely a big one. So Snow White's Adventure and Mr. Toad, those are both in Fantasyland, and I would hit those up. In terms of shows, the big shows to look at, there's the Hyperion in California Adventure, which doesn't. I can't remember. I think it's playing Frozen right now. There's not really a lot of shows like there is in Disney World. Like they don't have big spaces to put on those big shows. So there's the Hyperion, and then I would recommend watching Fantasmic, because as I've said before, the thing about Fantasmic is it doesn't have a dedicated arena. It's actually done on Rivers of America, right in front of where Pirates and Haunted Mansion is, which it'll be a very wild experience for you if you're used to the Disney World version of it. So I would recommend doing that. Oh, and so back to the rides. When you go to California Adventure, you have to do Radiator Springs Racers. It's a fantastic ride. I haven't done any of the new Marvel rides yet, so like the Spider-Man one, so I can't really talk about those. But yeah, I mean, to me, those are the big things that I would look at: is Radiator Springs Racers, Indy, and the dark rides with and the Matterhorn. And yeah, I mean, outside of that, like I would recommend, just get on Pirates, get on Haunted Mansion, because you're there anyway, and you'll be pleasantly surprised how different they are. Like I know it's, saying, well, it's the same ride with a twist. It's enough that I say this to a lot of people, is that like when you're used to going to one park and then you go to another one, you do feel like you're in an alternate dimension.
I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah. So, so it's definitely worth, even if it's a ride that and that you think in your head, like, oh, I've been on that enough times, I don't need to do it here. Just go and ride it once, and you'll be surprised. And actually, to that end, like Pirates, the starting area for Pirates is miles better in Disneyland than it is in Disney World, because of the fact that it goes through the Blue Bayou, which is the restaurant there. If you can get a reservation at the Blue Bayou, do so as well, because that's the flip side, where you can sit there and eat, and it's great atmosphere. It's good food. I know people will say it's not, like there's better Cajun food out there, but I like it, and I think as an overall experience, it's definitely worthwhile. So yeah.
I was just going to say, I mean, I've heard from a lot of people that like you could probably do all of it, pretty much all of it in 3 days, right? Like 3 to 4 days.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You can hit everything in 3 days quite easily. I personally try to shoot for 4 days, because I just like having the extra day. Mainly, like I'll go back and hit California Adventure again. But actually, the funny thing is I'll go to California Adventure and then still end up back in Disneyland anyway for an extra half a day. So,
yeah, man. I mean, I'm excited. That's to the point, though, right? Too, I would also prioritize, like you're saying, like the Marvel stuff, right? Because you don't have that Marvel stuff at Disney World, and you never will, probably. I mean, who knows? Maybe someday, but you have the Guardian stuff, right? But you're not going to get a Spider-Man ride, probably.
The Guardians ride there, it is Tower of Terror. So if you've been on Tower of Terror, it's that. But it has some extra stuff fitted to Guardians. So again, that falls into that bucket of, it's the same ride somewhere else. It just has a different feel to it. So yeah. I mean, I can't, for me, I like experiencing those things, but for Alicia, depends on how interested you are in that. If you feel that, well, I've been on a close enough ride and you don't want to take up time doing that, or the ride is too long, or the line's too long, you can skip that. But, I personally wouldn't. But again, I know I'm not normal in that sense.
Yeah. I get that. All
okay.
right. Well, so I mean,
hopefully that helps.
That's good advice. Yeah, that's good advice. I don't think, did she say where they're staying? Are they?
She didn't. I mean, if she's staying near Disneyland, I mean, it's pretty much everything's within walking distance of there. So
yeah. I did just see too. Did I see that? This is after I made the rundown. I think they announced when Main Street Electrical Parade is coming back. I want to say it was April 22nd. Did I see that somewhere?
I don't remember seeing the date. I saw something, but I was also kind of flipping through quickly, so maybe I missed it.
We also too last second there was not last second, but this was announced today. This whole Disney Mirrorverse thing. Did you see this? I think we need to talk about this.
Okay,
we don't talk about it right now. I'll put it later.
Yeah. Okay. So all right, I've known about Mirrorverse for a while, because it's been around for a while, but okay, yeah, we'll come back to this.
Yeah, we can come back to it. Just because it's a video game thing, right? So yeah, well, let me I'll send you the article for it. But sometimes these things I write them ahead of time, and then more stuff comes out in between. So anyway, so yeah, I'm excited someday to do a trip to Disneyland. I really want to. It's just I'm definitely gonna wait for my daughter to get older until we do that. So
for sure. I mean, my son, first time we went, he was 4, but you definitely want them to remember, especially for you. Like, it's for you, going to Disneyland is like the same as me taking my trip down to Florida. So you want to make it count.
So it is April 22nd. That is officially announced. It's on the Disneyland page there. So I don't think, Alicia didn't say, did she say when she was going?
She didn't say when. Yeah. So
hopefully it's after the 22nd. April 22nd.
Yeah. You'll be able to watch Main Street Electrical Parade, which again, it's a very different feel than Disney World. Like, in terms of like the nighttime shows and all that kind of stuff. It's, just be prepared. Everything is a lot closer together and a lot more compact, which makes it, I think, makes it a little more intimate. And the nighttime shows, I think, are better because of it.
Because they had to be a little more creative and how they do it, or you're just closer to the action.
You're closer to it. Like you're right on top of it.
Gotcha. That makes sense. That makes total sense. I've always heard that that it's just so much smaller, and Disney World is just gigantic, right? So it's it's hard to compare anything to it, right? So and that makes sense. All right, I'll read Dan's question.
Okay. Yeah.
So Dan says, is it crazy for Disney to build a dedicated concert arena? I'm thinking 20,000 seats, headliners several times a month, Disney radio, teeny bopper, throw the cheer competitions there. What do you think? Damon's comment on this, I'll read first. I'm mad I'm not on the episode to talk about this. This is a great idea, and I wish they could do this. Concerts would feel more family-friendly. Disney security is top-notch. But, I mean, they do concerts at Disney, do they? I mean, and they have a venue of some sort. I think they have a baseball field, Well, it's not there was like the ESPN. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. A World of
place.
ESPN, yeah.
Yeah, but not. I don't think there's a proper like concert hall though.
No. There's definitely not an. I mean, they have indoor venues over there. They have. I mean, I feel like they've done concerts though. I don't know. But I know what he's saying though, and I don't disagree with that. I think it would probably be a smart idea.
I mean,
I'm Googling Disney World concerts.
It's one of those things that, like, yeah, I get where Damon's head is on this. That if they had a venue where you could plan for, you're making a trip, but then also there's like a particular a band playing, or they can set it up for these competitions, which I know they already do, but just having somewhere another venue where they can do these things. And then, to that effect is, you're more incentivized to go there because that it's not or it's, it's Disney security. You're not going to run into a lot of the problems that you do with some other concert venues in some cities, right?
Sure.
Like, yeah, I can see where that would make sense, but I also think it would be the kind of thing that Disney would have to run something there, like, every other day to justify it. Like because they wouldn't cheap out on it. They wouldn't just, do a bare bones concert thing. It would have to be something pretty impressive at this point. And of course they would charge a premium for it.
Well, of course they would. Yeah. I'm just Googling, because I swear, I feel like they've definitely had concerts before over at ESPN. I'm like blanking on anything about it. So, cause like I just was Googling too, like they have an arena over there, I think. Yeah, something like that. I hate Googling while we're doing the
well, why don't we circle back on it? Maybe I'll take Francisco's question here while you're doing that. And then if you find anything, we can come back to it. All right. So Francisco says, what should Disney do next with Discovery Island? And in brackets, he has resort over water bungalows, restaurants and spa, nature preserve, Swiss Family Robinson Island Adventure. They can always make the island bigger. Should they add the Skyliner as a transport option? If you look at the aerial view, a resort like Bay Lake Tower could fit aside from parking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no way they would put a resort there. Like, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. The problem is the logistics of, moving people in and out of there. If they ever had to evacuate it, like,
oh my God.
Oh yeah. If there was a tower there, could you imagine?
Well, and I just don't think it's that big. I don't know. It just doesn't feel big enough for that. Now, do I think it would be cool? I think they could pull off like bungalows, right? Like I do think they could like pull off having bungalows go around and like having some sort of like central building there that, you could get certain services and food and, the basic things you need at a hotel, right? Like, I think you probably could do that, but I don't think Disney's going to do anything with that island. I think it's just going to sit there forever, honestly.
See, now you got me Googling for Discovery Island, which, actually looking at it, it's much bigger than Bay Lake Tower.
Yeah.
You could easily fit Bay Lake Tower on there and have space around it. But then, the problem is that they would actually have to build a bridge from Discovery Island over towards Wilderness.
Well, we're also assuming that the entire island is stable enough for them to build something like that on it, right? Like,
that's true too. We don't know what the structure is like of the island, and it would be a lot of work to build something like that in the middle of the lake.
Yeah, I just think it's a logistical nightmare, right? Like, I just think it would be an absolute nightmare to try to deal with all of the things you'd have to do to make that work. I don't know, man. Like that.
The only way I could see that working is if they built a bridge between Wilderness Lodge there and Discovery Island.
Yeah, that's kind of what they would have to do, right?
Yeah, and then. Sorry, not Discovery or not Wilderness Lodge, but the Wilderness Campground is where it is. So, other things you could do with it. It was originally a wildlife reserve kind of area. So, I guess,
man, Google Maps still has river country on here, by the way. I
guess the question is, I can't imagine them actually doing anything with it at this point.
I can't either. I'm sorry. I'm laughing right now. I'm sorry, Trevor. There's how Google Maps has like location markers, right?
Yeah.
There's a location marker on here for Reflections, a Disney Lakeside Lodge, which is temporarily closed, by the way. According to Disney, according to Google, it's temporarily closed, but it hasn't even been built. But what's making me laugh is that there's one review.
Wow.
Yeah. How is there one review of a building that doesn't exist? But okay, whatever. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm I'm trying to figure out where you're looking because I'm looking on Google Maps and I don't see it.
I'm
Oh,
looking.
there it is. Okay.
Yeah, you see,
All right. I found it.
It's actually technically over the. I think it's over. Yeah, it's over where the horses are.
Yeah.
That's where they have it marked for whatever reason. Although if you click on it, by the way, the review is for River Country. So, so anyway, but yeah, I just think it's weird that I mean, because that's been filled over for quite a while now. So, got to update their satellite pictures here.
Yeah,
but no, I just don't see them doing anything with it ever. I mean, there's definitely some cool things they could do, right? But I don't know.
Yeah. The funny thing is, we've talked about this in the past that, Disney has to keep a certain amount of space reserved as nature.
Oh yeah. As nature. Yeah.
Nature reserve.
Yeah.
So for them, like it almost doesn't, or it makes sense for them to just leave Discovery Island the way that it is.
Yeah. Cause it's basically a nature reserve at this point, right? I mean, that's essentially what it is.
Yeah, it can just stay as that, and then they can build elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't think they legally have to do it. I think they just do it because they want to do it. You know what I mean?
I thought it was something that they had agreed upon with the county.
It might be.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it could be. I just use the Google Maps measuring tool here to see how big this island is. And the total area is 580,183 square feet. I don't know what that is in acres.
That gives me zero frame of reference.
Yeah, let's see what that is. Let's see. Okay, in an acre, it's 13 acres. It's about 13 acres. It's actually a pretty nice sized piece of land. It's bigger than I thought it was. So
I feel like if they were going to do anything with it, they would almost have to expand it out. Like they would have to.
I mean, they could do. I mean, they could do that. I mean, they most of
they made Seven Seas Lagoon, right?
Yeah, and those are art. That's all artificial. So I mean, yeah, they could do that no problem, right? But then, I mean, does it ruin it, right? Because like part of the coolness of it is that it's just kind of like. I mean, I think Discovery Island itself was a natural island, right? Because that's the natural side of the lake. Is Bay Lake. Bay Lake was the natural piece of the lake, and then Seven Seas Lagoon is they dug all that out to build the Magic Kingdom. So that was artificial. But I mean, like I think the coolest thing they could do is do the bungalows over there. You could put a fair amount of them there. Maybe do some cabins inland. That'd be kind of cool, I guess, if you're into that sort of thing.
Yeah, I guess maybe you're right that, maybe doing an expansion to cabins at Wilderness Lodge.
Yeah.
Would be something where, you have the boat launch that goes over there. But then again, the problem with that is, anytime you have people staying there, you have to, Disney's big on safety. So you got to factor in that, if somebody has an emergency out there, how are you getting, how are they contacting back to the mainland? How are you getting emergency services out there and all that? Right?
Yeah, you're completely right. They would absolutely have to build a bridge and then you also have the problem of people, just like, hey, I'm going to go night swimming, like,
right. Well, if you know well enough, you should not be swimming in any natural water around Disney, but but people do anyway, right? So but I mean, well, to be fair too, there was a time when they were doing water sports in the lakes too, so and that was not that long ago that they were doing water sports. The water was safer back in the 80s and 90s. Okay.
Was it safer or we just didn't care as much?
Maybe it's the latter.
Social media didn't exist, so you could just sweep things under the rug. Okay. Yeah. The internet didn't exist, so nobody knew that it was filled with snakes and alligators, I guess, right?
Exactly.
But no, I mean, like, there's some cool stuff you could definitely do. I mean, but even like, when I stayed at the cabins, that one night when I stayed at the cabins there, you can't like go and walk into the water, right? Like there's fences though. I mean, you could jump fences and stuff like that, but they do make it a little difficult,
Yeah. They make it so that you don't want to go anywhere near the water.
Exactly. Which, you shouldn't want to swim in those areas, but people swim over to Discovery Island all the time. But Disney also watches that island like a hawk. Remember that there was a story like last year where a guy like you went over there.
He took a boat out there,
him.
and they searched the island and found him pretty quick. So
yeah, exactly. So it's not like they're not watching; they are. But I just don't see it. They could also do something crazy too, like they could make an extension of Fort Wilderness where they could have just people like straight up camping there. They could do like that island. It kind of reminds me of like Lost, like the show Lost. And I mean that's an ABC property, right? So it's a Disney property right there. They could do like the Lost experience. They could like make it up like Lost, right?
Like actually would be crazy now that you're talking
now that
about
I'm ideating here.
Like an escape room type experience that spans an entire island.
Oh, that's cool. I like it.
Think about that.
Yeah, that would be very cool. I mean, they could also just theoretically just give tours, right? Like, and leave it in its current state, because obviously there's a demand here for people to want to see this, right? Like this room, go ahead.
Do you think Disney really wants to give tours of a broken down old?
No, they do not. Yeah. That ruins the magic, and it's not what they want people to see, right? And that's why they're just kind of letting it sit there and be overgrown. But I don't know. I'm saying they could. I'm just saying there would probably be a demand for it if they offered it. Like if they just cleared out some pathways and then just left, all the buildings the way they are. I don't know. Then you get rid of all the what do they call them? The urban explorers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That would kind of stop real quick if they just did anything with it.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're right though. They're not going to do that, of course, because the whole island at this point is pretty much just a big giant liability sitting there, right? Like, it's a whole big risk of people trying to get there, and it's in disrepair, and it's just kind of sitting there. So I mean, like I said, I see them doing nothing with it. I think it's just going to sit there. There's so many other things that they can develop and things that they can do. I just don't think it's priority at all for them. But I like the question though.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought exercise, and unfortunately, I think that the real logistics of it is, that ship has sailed for doing anything with Discovery Island at this point.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. So Francisco has another
Second
question.
Yeah.
I'll read this one. The concept for the new Poly Tower seems too big to fit where the current Spirit of Aloha is located. Aloha, did I say that right? Okay, is located without overlapping. I don't know why it just felt like it came out of my mouth wrong. It's located without overlapping into Grand Floridian, not including parking. Do you think they may be considering developing it on the opposite side of the TTC ferry boats? No. This actually, this drove me down a rabbit hole. So I'll just really quickly. Mm-hmm. So if you look at, if you want to see what I did, go on the Facebook page, on our Facebook group, go look in the comments, go look at this question. And I commented on this last night as I was writing the podcast, because I took like a half hour aside to look into this. Right. So,
all right. Okay.
I do think it's a big enough space. I think it's bigger than you think it is. Right. And I also think it's because of the way the building is shaped. Right. So if you look at it, if you look at the concept art, basically, it's almost like broken into 3 different buildings, right? And the 2 buildings are very much hugging the shoreline, right? They're almost like on the shoreline, right? And so there's like the small building that's the closest to Grand Floridian. That one seems like it's a fairly small one. And then there's the big main building in the middle, and that one kind of just goes straight back. And then the one off to the side kind of tilts diagonally. It's almost like a backwards L if you were to make the L, the bottom part of the L diagonal. Yeah. And so that actually fits really neatly into that space, because if you look at that space, from above, it's very much it kind of bows out because of the monorail line, right? So I do think that this resort's going to be fairly close to the monorail line, but I do also think if you look at it, and I put together a little picture on this, right next to there's a space here between the beach and some of these different longhouses. I think that's going to be the pool, and then I think that one piece is going to go diagonally back towards the monorail, and there's just going to be a small space between the existing longhouse there and the new building, and then those other buildings are going to kind of hug really closely along the shoreline there. And I think this building is going to be fairly close to the monorail. Like, I just think it's going to be pretty close. Now, my question is going to be, are they going to have an entrance specific for this building, like so separate, or are they just going to rely on the main entrance for Poly and then people will just have to walk over there? It does feel like it's a little far. I think I would feel like they would give it its own parking lot. But I don't know where they would put that. So
actually, I mean, looking at the distance to the Great Ceremonial House, it's about the same distance as Maria, which is the bad, right? Building on the opposite side, closest to the TTC. So it's I can't, there's no reason for them to make another stop specific to this building. No. I get the feeling it'll actually probably be something similar to the Grand Californian in Disneyland, where you may actually you'll either have the monorail running right up against the building or running through the building, but there's no stop for that particular building. Because that's actually what happens in Disneyland, is that the monorail runs right through the hotel, which you go, oh, can I get on here? No, you actually got to walk to the stop near the Disneyland Hotel to get on. So, I
don't think they're going to do a monorail stop. I don't think it makes sense for them to do that. It's just going to be close.
I don't see any reason. It'll and honestly, I think that might be a bit of a selling point too, because even if you don't have that lake view room, even on the opposite side, having a view of the monorail track, for families, families and kids and stuff, like when my son was little, like, when we first took him to the Grand Californian, we were lucky we got a room that, we could see the monorail track from our room. And he loved it. Like, he thought it was the greatest thing ever. And I know it's like just a very, like, it shouldn't be like the whole highlight of your trip, but, for anyone going with kids, that definitely makes this building, a little more enticing, I think.
Honestly, I was thinking about this, and I don't think there's going to be a bad view in this entire hotel. It's almost in a lot of ways like Bay Lake, right? It's like, okay, I didn't get the lake view, but now I get to, like, I can see the monorail, like, you know what I mean? Even though you're looking at a parking lot, I mean, here, to your point, I mean, you're going to be, it's going to be close. I don't know what kind of distances they want to maintain between buildings and, and the actual monorail track. But I mean, I'm just looking over here at the Grand Floridian at one of the buildings they have. I mean, and it's pretty close to the track. I mean, let's see. Yeah. It's like 35 feet away. So, I mean, I just love the measure tool on Google Maps, especially like I got so nerdy about this when I was looking into it, and I was like measuring different buildings, and because I think it's always deceptive on Google Maps, right? It always looks smaller than it actually is. But yeah, I mean, I just think they specifically shaped the building to fit the piece of land that they have, which is not a lot, and I just can't imagine them developing that space on the other side of the TTC because it's kind of far. It's like, it's just kind of far.
To your point though about, the scale is tricky. Like I'm comparing against the longhouses in the rest of the Poly to this space. And like, when I look at this potential space that they can use, any one of the existing longhouses could fit in it.
Absolutely.
And if you look at those longhouses, I know they're only, 3 stories tall, but they're pretty big. Like it's when you're actually standing there, it's a lot bigger than you realize. So,
yeah, absolutely.
And and also, like you said, if they're splitting up this building, so it's kind of doing that L shape.
Well, it's even more than an L shape too, because right, if you look at it, like the small building that's close to Grand Floridian is also it's kind of a V, right? Like it's kind of almost a backwards C in a weird way, right? Because but the top part is very
be a V on its side, but
Well, I'm thinking it more as like circular instead of very angular, but whatever. But either way, but I'm just like, again, I just did the measure tool thing on Google Maps here, and it's 69,408 square feet, right? So it's a pretty big piece of land there. I mean, it's just that where I'm guessing it's going to be, right? Like just where my guess is how far out it's going to go. But to what I'm saying, like just looking, if you look really closely at that top building close to Grand Floridian, it goes a little bit inwards, right? It's just like it hugs the shoreline, and then that one building that's going to be closest to Poly is going to bow out a little bit more because there's more space there. And then, I just don't, looking at the space that's on the other side of, the TTC, it's kind of far from Poly. Like, if I were staying there, I wouldn't feel like I was staying at Poly. You know what I mean? I feel like it was a whole separate resort.
Yeah, that's exactly like there's the space on the other side of the Poly there actually it's about the same space as the Grand Floridian in its entirety.
Yeah.
Like that's a huge amount of space on the other side. But yeah, if they were going to do something with that would almost be just another resort at that point.
Exactly.
Because you've got the TTC in between Yeah, now that I'm looking at, they could actually build a whole other resort there if they wanted.
Oh, there's a ton of space right there. Like I actually kind of didn't even realize how much space is actually there. They could build. I mean, I think the original plans called for them to build at least a couple things over there. And they have that space that's we've been speculating. They also have that space in between Grand Floridian and Magic Kingdom too. That's just sitting there open. I mean, they just have a ton of space around here, and it is a little weird that they would try to just shoehorn it into this tiny place, but. If you're going to build a brand new resort, then develop that area over on the other side of the TTC. But I mean, if it's going to be Poly, themed, then it should be where it's going to be. Yeah.
And again, like you said, looking at the space where Spirit of Aloha is and the beach and everything around there. Yeah. I've walked through there and it's, again, you don't realize how much space is actually there until you're standing in the middle of it. Like it's not a small space. And again, the fact that it's a tower too, you say, well, you're going to scrunch in this tower, but it's going to fit a lot of people. Like, I mean, even compared to the size of Bay Lake Tower, like you could fit Bay Lake Tower
10 stories tall, right? I mean, that's what it looks like. Now, obviously, we're going to get more details about this at some point, right? Like, so we don't have a lot of details now, but based on the concept art and what DVC News was saying, they were counting it as 10 stories. So, but that's why they're building it as a tower, right? Is because they don't have a lot of land to build on. So if you don't have that, then you build up, right?
Exactly.
Exactly. So, and that's why the new Disneyland DVC resort is a tower. They just don't have the space to build, wide. Right. So I don't know. I think that's where it's going. I mean, I would be shocked if they built it on the other side of the TTC. I just would be shocked by that. I just can't see it happening.
They already announced, I mean, the whole reason they're closing Spirit of Aloha is for this. So why would they close down Spirit of Aloha and then build it somewhere else?
I don't know if they technically announced that, right?
I thought they did when they did the preview.
Yeah, I don't think they technically, Disney actually said that it was closing to accommodate that. I think people are putting two and two together. I don't know. I'll have to go look back at the announcement, but I don't think they actually said it in their announcement. They just, because it's been rumored for a while that it was never going to reopen, right?
Right.
So, yeah, let me see here. Let me pull up the announcement.
No, we can't keep doing this. We're going to be here all night.
What are you talking about?
We keep Googling everything.
We can't keep Googling while we're on here? Okay. Well, yeah. Yeah. I know it actually doesn't. It just says situated on the shores of Seven Seas Lagoon. Would join the rest of the resort. Stunning views, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it doesn't say in the actual announcement. People are just putting two and two together, I think.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I guess, yeah, you're right. I guess when I heard it too, I immediately went to, that area is going away.
Yeah. It is worth noting too, if you look at this, if you look at the concept art, it looks like there's each one of these kind of, and it's probably more than, I kind of made it 3 buildings just based on their orientation, but it's kind of I don't know. It's split up into a bunch of different buildings,
Well, but, I mean, it's sections of the same building, right? Yeah. But they're kind of, I think they're designing them that, you've got 3 unique areas to the building. And that probably plays into, like you were saying, the design of where it's going to sit along the beach there.
Yeah. Cause some of these some of the side towers are not 10 floors, right? So I'm just counting real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 floors, right? I mean, well, ground floor and then 5 floors above it, right? So, I think it's just the main tower that has the most amount, but still, it actually, you can. I'm just seeing now that you can see the monorail in the background of this concept art, just barely. You got to look real close, but it's there. You can see it.
It'll be there.
Yeah, of course it'll be there. Yeah. But I do think there's enough space here. I think it'll be interesting to see what the final plans end up being like and how it actually ends up looking and, how that all works. So I would assume they're going to have to start tearing down that Spirit of Aloha building like ASAP, right?
Soonish. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, okay.
Yeah, let's get through the last couple of these and then we can get to some DVC news. So Connor says, what is your favorite travel memory? Doesn't have to be Disney, but bonus points if it is.
Trevor, real quick though, question.
Sure.
Do Canadians spell favorite with the U? I need to know this if that's the case or not.
Yeah. I mean it's like color or armor. Like we put U's in a lot of words that you don't.
I didn't know if Canadians did that. I know that was like a British thing, but I didn't know if Canadians did it too.
Yeah. Yeah, we do it too.
So we're the only weird ones here. Okay, cool. Got it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's with everything else. I got it.
Yep. Yeah, we also like base 10 instead of base 12 and all that stuff. I don't. When you say feet and yards and stuff, you might as well be
just throw you for a loop.
Yeah, I don't think I deal in meters, but yeah.
Well, I don't know where I feel like I remember Connor saying before. Oh man, I don't want to like misrepresent where Connor's from, but obviously either Canadian or from England. Maybe he's our listener from Switzerland. I don't know. So we have to find out. But anyway, go ahead. Read this question. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
So yeah, Connor says, what's your favorite travel memory? Doesn't have to be Disney, but bonus points if it is. I mean, I guess I'll give you two. And there's one when I was with my family growing up and then with my wife and my son. So the first one was, I went with, I was 18. We went to Disneyland and, we were in Frontierland and we ran into a bandit that was trying to hide some money. It like they had some cast members that were, doing an improv skit and we got pulled into the middle of it. And my brother was being accused of helping the bandit hide his money by the sheriff and all that kind of stuff. And it was one of those I mean, the trip overall was fantastic, but that still we still mention that from time to time, even today, because it was just one of those funny, you didn't see it coming and all of a sudden you're in the middle of something. Right. So,
yeah.
So there was that. And then my favorite of my son or with my wife and son is actually when, and I have a little clip of this is, the first time we took him to Disneyland, he had no concept of what it was, but we got there and we were standing outside a haunted mansion waiting for Fantasmic. And I just recorded him saying, "I love Disneyland." And he was wearing like those glow with the show ears and everything. And it was just one of those it was the evening. It was, we were all just, happy, like kind of tired because it was like the first day. And, just seeing my son looking around and yeah, I don't even know how else to describe it. It was just one of those moments, you could just sit there and be content with it.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So what about you?
Man, I had mine and I just forgot. Oh, okay. Yeah. All so right. There was a trip that we did. It was my wife and a good friend of ours. And we decided we were going to drink around the world at EPCOT, but we decided very late in the day. And I've told this story before, but, I think our friend would be mortified to hear this because we were staying at Wilderness Lodge and actually Boulder Ridge, right? And yep. We, how sometimes the resorts share buses, like if a nearby resort needs some pickups and there's, not a lot of people on your bus, sometimes they'll go pick people up from another resort. And so that was happening, right? And that happens sometimes with Wilderness Lodge where you go to Fort Wilderness to pick up people, right? And mm-hmm. So the bus is pulling into Fort Wilderness and our friend who was on their phone looked up and goes, "Is this EPCOT?" I was like, And we make fun of her about it to this day because it's like, could it be further from Epcot as far as, theme and stuff goes.
Right.
But anyway, and so then we go and we successfully drink around the world in like 3.5 hours, which I do not advise anyone to try. It's the worst idea ever. And documented the whole thing on Facebook, which, is a pretty funny thing, but that was fun. But then the next day was like an epic day. It was our last day there, and we could stay till close because we were staying at we had a hotel in Daytona Beach. So that night we were going to drive to Daytona Beach, sleep overnight, and then drive the rest of the way home. So we decided we're going to go like all out. We're going to go open to close, like really rock it out, which is, first of all, not a great idea after drinking all night, and to at least 11 o'clock at night is when it happened. So we rope drop Magic Kingdom, and we get there just in time for the open show, right? Which they don't even really do the open show anymore, but they used to have a whole show like right at opening, right?
Yeah, the welcome like with the train and everything.
Yeah, with the train and the characters were coming up. And we had actually never seen it before, even though we rope dropped all the time. We just had never caught it before for whatever reason. And so we really wanted to see that. So we did that. We got to see it. It was great. It was happening right as we walked in. And then we're hitting every ride. Like we rope dropped Seven Dwarfs, and then we walked on to everything else in the morning, and then we went over to Hollywood Studios. We did a whole bunch of stuff at Hollywood Studios, then we hopped over Epcot and we did a whole bunch of stuff at Epcot. Like, we just did so much that day. We did 3 different parks in one day, and then we ended the day with fireworks at Magic Kingdom. And so like it was just a very cool, like, full experience where we did a ton of stuff that day. We didn't do all 4 parks, which we decided not to, but it was just cool to be able to start the day at rope drop, see the opening show, and then see the fireworks end at the end of the day. I was exhausted, like absolutely exhausted. Couldn't have been more tired. And it was, it's like one of those things, like when you're so tired and then you finally get to your bed and go to sleep, it's just like the greatest feeling in the world. That's how that was.
And your eyes are already shut before.
Just like, oh yeah. So because it was probably, I think we started our day probably at like 7 a.m, and we probably didn't get to Daytona until like 12:30 at night at the late, so we were just exhausted, and and we were up late or late the day before too. So, so that was a really fun one. And also I'm going to quote one from childhood really quickly too here. 1999. Very, very specific. I know. It wasn't that trip. I'm sorry. This was in the 80s. Because my sister was very young, maybe 3 or 4. And I think I've told this on the show before too. But we were walking on the bridge to Tomorrowland. My sister had a cookie in her hand. A bird swooped down and stole the cookie out of her hand, and she got very upset. And as a brother to my sister, I thought it was hilarious, and I still to this day think it's really funny. So anyway, she was very upset about it, but I thought it was amazing. So
yeah.
Oh, also one time I found $20 in the park, and I was like, I couldn't figure out who it belonged to. So I was like, all right, this is my $20 now. We're going to spend on something dumb. I don't even remember what we spent it on though, but it was just like random thing that happened, and it was just made us really happy. I probably should say like, when I got engaged in my honeymoon, but these are,
well, I mean, fun. We did our honeymoon too in Disney World, and I have lots of great memories there, but I think the ones with my son really stand out, and the ones with my family do. The one memory from my honeymoon was actually us going into the Adventurers Club. Because that was a wild experience, because we had no idea what it was. We just kind of stumbled upon it because we were looking around Pleasure Island.
Yeah.
But there obviously there's a lot of them, and I think for both of us, like Connor said, it doesn't have to be Disney, but I think for you and I, it's a lot of Disney.
It is. I mean, it definitely is. Okay. Well, let's do Brandon. What type of restaurant would you like to see added to the Poly expansion? It's a good question. This is a really good question.
I don't know, because we already have some. Yeah, because like we already have Ohana and Kona Cafe and all that. It like in the Polynesian itself. So, I mean, I don't know what else.
The only thing I could think of, my wife's really into poke bowls, right? Like you could have a place that does that. I mean, I guess, right?
Or they could, they could take the menu that they served at the luau. And
they could do that
into a restaurant. Yeah.
Although I feel like I always heard the food was not great there, but I could be wrong.
Maybe don't do that.
Oh man, I would like a place with like a whole like pig roast kind of thing. Like that would be cool. I mean, I guess Ohana is kind of that in a lesser version, but I would love a place that did like a pig roast and like did like a that kind of thing.
I feel that wouldn't work because if it's a big tower, you're going to have a lot more people there.
For sure.
Like, yeah.
I'm just thinking here. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know Hawaiian or Polynesian cuisine very well. I mean, I really don't. So,
oh, you know what? They need to do. What is the name of the restaurant in Disneyland now, next to the Tiki Room? And why am I drawing a blank on it? It was.
Do some more Googling while we're doing the podcast if you want.
I guess I could. Maybe this is the Google episode. Yeah.
Well, how about while you do that, I go ahead and read our ad, and then you can get back with that after our ad, and then we'll talk about some other stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So our sponsor this week is DVC Resale Market. DVC Resale Market, a world of DVC company, is the leader in the DVC resale industry with 13 former Disney Vacation Club guides and 3 former Disney Vacation Club quality assurance managers. If you're thinking of buying DVC, browse the largest selection of DVC resale listings anywhere, with DVC experts on hand 7 days a week to answer your questions. If you're thinking of selling, turn to the friendly professionals at DVC Resale Market, where over 98% of listings sell within 30 days. In 2020, DVC Resale Market helped over 3,600 families join or add on to their memberships. Go to dvcresalemarket.com or call 1-844-DVC-PROS. That's 1-844-382-7767. And when you speak to them, be sure to let them know that Welcome Home sent you. Did you find your answer, Trevor?
It is Tropical Hideaway.
There it is. I actually knew that. I forgot the name. I've heard that before. Yeah,
it was on the tip of my tongue, and I could not get it out for some reason. But I guess the thinking there, because Tropical Hideaway is what Disney wanted the Tiki Room to actually be. In the first place, was like a dinner with a show kind of thing. I mean, something like that would be cool.
That was actually one of my favorite things from the, that's a good point, Trevor. That's a great idea to have like animatronic tiki, but that makes it kind of like Rainforest Cafe Disney style, right? Like that's,
Yeah, but the Tiki Room is a little better than Rainforest Cafe. It's a little classier.
One of my favorite things from the Imagineering story, I think it was, I forget who was telling the story, but somebody was saying when they initially pitched the Tiki Room to Walt Disney, they said, oh, we're going to have these birds in cages, and then people are going to be eating underneath. And Walt Disney apparently replied to that by saying, well, you can't do that because the birds are going to poop in the food.
Yeah.
and then
he's right.
And then the Imagineer, and I forget who it was, says, oh, no, we're going to have like little robot birds. And like literally just said that on the spot, not intending that to be the case at all. And then it was like, and he was like, oh, okay, go do that then. And they were like, oh, now we got to invent that.
So, oh no.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of my favorite things in the Imagineering story. Like that was a great thing. Yeah. So I'm trying to remember who said it now. Gosh, I really don't want to Google more on the show.
Probably. It was Marty Sklar. Let's go with that.
Was it?
I don't know. I'm just throwing the name out there.
I don't think it was.
Let's get into the news here. So DVC news, which the first one we got here is direct prices for 3 older resorts rise to $200 per point. And I'll read Damon's comment here, which is DVC is one of those don't wait things. I think everyone wishes they'd bought earlier. And this is exactly why. We've got direct prices for 3 older properties have gone up. Some of them $14 to $20 per point. So Disney's Animal Kingdom Villas, Old Key West, and Saratoga Springs are now set to $200 per point. Whew.
Okay.
That's
that's a little steep. It's feeling a little steep.
Yeah, that's I'm reading through this article. It's obviously some of the resorts were set at different rates. So I think Animal Kingdom Villas was the most expensive prior to this.
Yeah,
at $186 a point, and then Old Key West was $180. Like, I mean, if you think about that, because this goes back to our ad about maybe consider resale, because I know the resale price
is quite a bit lower. Yeah, for those resorts. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just crazy to think about how, even 5 years ago, the idea of paying $200 a point was like, when I was buying DVC, that was like, that would have taken it off the table entirely for me.
I mean, I kind of see this as them just trying to push people towards the resorts they currently have for sale, right? Like that's
it. Yeah, that's part
usually
of it.
What it is, right?
But the thing is that the new resorts are at $200 a point as well. So that they're kind of,
but they have incentives though. They have incentives. So
that's true too. Yeah. Yeah. So they're making that more of an incentive, but they're obviously trying to level the playing field so that people don't go, well, I'll just buy the cheaper resort. Right. So I get why Disney's doing it. It's just, it's, that for me, and I think, for any of us that own DVC at this point, you look at it and go, like Damon said, oh, I'm glad that I didn't wait to buy this.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's kind of the way you have to think about it. Or, a lot of people get hung up on, should I wait? Will there be a deal on? It's like, yeah, there might be a deal on, but it's usually after there's been like 3 price hikes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
BT dubs, Raleigh Crump was the answer.
Was it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, Raleigh Crump was the answer. Oh man. This is getting funny already. But I mean, he was the one that designed Enchanted Tiki Room, so it makes sense, right? So anyway, all I can think about now, though, by the way, is this idea of having a actual Tiki Room restaurant. I'm in. I would go to that in a heartbeat.
All right,
let's do it. Let's make it happen.
Sorry, did I lose you on the price conversation?
Yeah. I'm not buying. Listen, here's the thing. Like, Damon and I are on opposite sides of this thing, right? Because Damon will only buy direct, but I'm never buying direct again. Like, just not going to happen. Like, there's no need for me to buy direct ever again. And so, like, why would I? I'm just not going to do it. I'll buy resale from now on because it's so much cheaper, and I don't need to buy direct anymore. So, like, I'm just never going to, right?
So I'm going to use that as a segue into the fact that the Disneyland Tower construction goes vertical.
Well, so that's you kind of have to buy direct, right? Like you're gonna have
So I see what you're saying, and I agree. I would like to avoid buying direct, but the fact that the Disneyland Tower is being built right now, and so that was the next piece of news we had here.
Yeah,
is this is going to be coming up soon, like in the next year or two.
Yeah.
And if you want, to your point, yeah, for anything Disney World, I agree with you, at this point. And, even when we bought more points for the Poly, we didn't buy direct because, I don't feel the need to buy direct at this point because, I have the points that I do. But, if I'm going to go buy points in Disneyland, I pretty much have to buy direct because there is no resale market out there really, or there's hardly anything to speak of at this point.
I feel like that's an exception, right? Like, so this is because even with any new resorts that they build at Disney World, like I'm not clamoring to buy points at any of the new resorts, right? Like I'll use my existing points to book at those resorts. Like I don't need to own at like Riviera. I just don't. Like if I want to stay there, I use the points I have. But this is different. Like this is a very small inventory they have right now at Disneyland. And so, yeah, I would totally buy if I was a Disneyland person and live close by there, I would 100% buy direct for this.
Yeah.
I get it. It's totally different, I think.
Yeah. And I think, if I shouldn't say this because I don't have a crystal ball, but I think if this tower was already built and if there was, the option for resale, I think, if I knew what I know now, I maybe would have looked at resale for my first contract purchase instead of going direct through Poly as well. But again, that was also a matter of opportunity at the time. Like when we looked at it and we're like, okay, these Poly contracts, it was in that timing where, because they were offering them because of the recent renovation, and they were direct, and the cost on them was still reasonable. I think that was kind of a lightning in the bottle thing. I think for the new tower, it's we're already talking about it, and I'm more likely than not going to get points there. Probably not as many as I have at the Poly, because we don't need to spend as many days there, but I'll definitely make sure that I have some points on the West Coast.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what the per night is there though, too, right? Like I don't know what that's going to look like, but
I'm hoping. Actually, I should look at the Grand Californian point charts here.
Yeah.
But, I'm hoping that they won't go above 22 to 23 points a night, because then that works out, for like 4 nights, you can get in for, around 100 points, which isn't bad.
Yeah. It's not too bad. Not too bad. All right. Well, yeah. And so now they're actually making progress on this, unlike Reflections, which, is just an empty lot right now. So that's not happening. So, but I mean, listen, they're building something new here, and that's great. And I think everybody's excited about it. I mean, it is interesting to me that they're still, what they're saying, 2023 for this one, right? Is that next year already? Yeah.
I guess. I mean, that makes sense if the tower is being built now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just amazing that we're starting out with we're just on the bottom of this right now. There's just the foundation, and then, within a year it'll be open. Yeah. 2023 opening. Yeah. But who knows when that could be the end of 2023 too. So who knows what that's going to look like, but
yeah.
All right. Yeah.
So
that's it.
I'm just looking. You got me Googling again.
That's what happens.
Yeah, the point values for Deluxe Studio at the Grand Californian, the lowest is 17 and the highest is 37, depending on the time of year.
That's not terrible, though. I mean, that's doable. Yeah. 37's a lot, but that's probably Christmas, and
that is,
that's peak. Yeah, of course, yeah. So I don't know why I even said probably, because obviously is during those times. So
yeah,
okay. But yeah, I know, we're excited for this. And there was another thing on DVC News that I actually didn't even put in here. But did you see the thing about Riviera's testing checkout on the app, on the MTE app? So you can actually check out on your phone, and instead of, which it amazed me that it took them this long to do this, because when they do that, it's really operationally good for them, because they can know that people left, and then they can go and clean those rooms as soon as they can. They can be a little more efficient there. But I mean, and actually the article that I read this in made a good point in that that they used to have that kind of data for a lot of people, because they knew when people were going to leave based on Magical Express, but they don't have that anymore, right? So it's similar to the park reservations. They don't have FastPass anymore, so they don't have a way to know how many people are going to show up other than guessing, right? So that's park reservations now, they know. But it kind of seems interesting that they're building this in now. I mean, I think it's good for Disney, but I also think it's good for for guests too, because it'd be good to be able to check out and just immediately see your whole bill. Now you get the emails, right, and you can look through them, but it's just an email. You don't, it's not in the app where you could scroll through it easily, I guess. But
yeah, and I guess, yeah, I was thinking about this, and yeah, usually checking out, it's so different now, right? Like you said, everything is so modernized and done through the app that it almost feels like, well, why do I even need to check out? They'll just know when I leave my room.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
But, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if that will be. I almost forgot that this was a thing that was coming, because we haven't heard anything about it. But whether we're going to put all those Amazon devices in all the rooms. Like, I wonder if that's going to be a thing that you're going to be able to do on that too. Like, Alexa, check me out. Oh, that sounds bad. But
this is a Disney
out
hotel,
of the hotel. Check me out of the hotel. Yes. Yeah. That's probably not the
I would like to check out.
Yeah. I would like to check out. Yeah.
Check me out. Oh, it's too good.
Listen, I might have said it on purpose. Who knows? All right,
I can just imagine what Alexa would say to that.
Yeah, what would Alexa say to that? It's a good thing I don't have any Alexas in here because they'd be freaking out. It's just every time I say the GOOGLE word, all the devices in my house start listening. So I can't. I got to stop saying that word so often. Oh my gosh! I clicked on the TikTok for this next article and I started blasting the music for it in my ears.
Regret clicking on TikTok now?
I do. I always regret clicking on TikTok.
It's a weird place for sure.
But I mean, Disney's doing more and more stuff on TikTok, and this is where they made their announcement of the Minnie Vans returning to service. So
this summer, right?
Yeah, this summer. Yeah, it's interesting because I had a conversation with someone in our group, right? I apologize if you're listening right now that I don't remember who it was, but about like, why is this coming back when there are other things that are still not back, right? And I think the simple explanation for this is anyone can drive a car, for the most part, right? Like it's you don't need special licenses, you don't need to know how to cook, and in the case of line cooks, you don't need to be an actor, you don't need to have technical skills. It's just most people can drive a car
and be personable. Yes.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you need that too, right? But like, part of the reason why some of the restaurants are still closed is, and Disney said this, is they can't find short order cooks. They just can't find them. Like they're not able to hire as many as they need. And listen, I know that's not like it's the same as a chef, but I was a short order cook before and I was pretty bad at it. So like there is a skill to it. It's not like, anybody.
There is a lower threshold that they're looking for.
Of course. Yeah. It's not like a chef that you would find at Victoria and Albert's, but it's also not something that's completely and totally unskilled, right? Not that driving is unskilled, but it's I don't want to offend anybody who drives for a living. I don't want to, but I'm just saying it's different, right? There's
far more people that have driver's licenses than there are other things.
Exactly,
because usually people who you like, there is professional drivers, but there's a lot of people that driving could be like, it's just part of what you do,
everyday routine. Yeah. Exactly. So, and I mean, listen, there's also a skill to Minnie Vans too, in that like you said, you have to be personable, you have to be able to talk to people, because I know that's one of the main selling points, right? Is that it's a cast member, it's somebody that can give you information about the parks and stuff like that. But those are of course things that you can train and things like that.
So. I could totally be a Minnie Van driver.
You know what? That feels like it would be a pretty good gig, I think.
Yeah. Just drive around the property all day, talk to people, kind of like we do on the podcast here, just throw facts at people, give them tips, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Make up rumors about stuff like the bus drivers do all the time,
That might not be a good idea.
Every time I see somebody post in one of the Facebook groups, they're like, oh, I heard from a bus driver this is happening. He's like, yeah, it probably isn't. This bus drivers just love to make stuff up. Anyway, no, this is good. Damon commented on this by saying, I liked these. That's his 3-word comment on this, is he liked the Minnie Van. So, all right.
Well, so did I. I used them multiple times, and I was sad when they shut them down. I'm glad that for us, we've started budgeting this into our trip.
Oh, using the Minnie Vans is like part of your budget?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because so like, for example, obviously with us staying at the Polynesian, we can get to 3 of the 4 parks relatively easy. Through, EPCOT, Hollywood Studios, and Magic Kingdom. We do actually plan to, or like, we've gotten to a point where like, let's just take a Minnie Van to Animal Kingdom, because it's the furthest one away, and kind of, it justifies the trip a little bit more instead of, just taking a quick trip with the Minnie Van. But then also, yeah, it to me, it feels like, just like getting a lift or anything, the buses are, while they're reliable in that, the buses are always coming, they take a lot longer than you think. And it actually saves us time by hopping in a minivan.
Well, and the one thing they haven't said yet is whether the airport service is going to return for this, right? And I tend to think that it is going to, right? Because I think Disney wants a piece of that pie of getting people from the airport to the resorts, and they had that service before where you could do that. So I think Disney sees this as an easy way to increase transportation capacity, right? And B, obviously increase revenue because they make a lot of money off these too. So there's also that. But I actually, it's funny because there were a couple blogs out there, and I'm not going to name which ones said this, but there were some that said it was done for good, right? That they were turning in the vehicles and it was over. But I kind of didn't believe that. Like, I just never believed that was the case. I felt like it was a popular service, even though it was expensive. People really seemed to like it. And I just didn't see them getting rid of it completely. I always felt like it was going to make a return at some point. And plus, there's nothing that can't be undone, right? Like, even if they returned all the cars, it's not like they couldn't get them back again. Like, it's Disney. They can get a fleet of vehicles anytime they want.
And yeah, truth be told, they don't want 2 or 3 year old vehicles.
Yeah.
As they're bringing the service back in. So yeah, why would they keep the old vehicles, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah.
I listen, I think this is good. I have never used the service. I didn't use it, but I could see myself using it, especially because, and I think this is important for parents who have kids that are in car seats still, right? Is, you feel a lot more comfortable with the car seat that is going to be provided by Disney than you would from a random Uber driver. And that's no offense to any Uber drivers listening to this. It's just, there's a certain amount of confidence that comes with what Disney's offering there, especially, like I said, for people that need car seats. So,
yeah. I don't need a car seat. I just want the pleasant ride.
Yeah, you want the pleasant ride? I get that too. Yeah. I have feared for my life many times in an Uber.
I've actually only used Lyft at Disney World. Outside of that, I don't really use rideshare services. So every experience that I've had with it has been, or with any rideshare has been good at this point, but I know it's very limited.
Yeah. I've had a couple where I was like, oh yeah, okay, this is scary. This is terrifying. So, but anyway,
they take like weird detours down wooded roads with no lights and stuff.
No. So so I had one time. I was in Miami. Okay, I was in Miami, and I had this one where literally every light that we were at, if there was a person in front of our Uber driver and the light turned green and the person didn't immediately move, this guy would beep his horn nonstop. And then he was weaving in and out of cars and cutting people off and driving 100 miles per hour on the highway. Like, I'm not even sure we got into an Uber. I think we just got into a random person's car because I don't know how this person was allowed to drive for Uber. But anyway.
Okay.
He got a 1-star rating from me.
I bet. Probably some poor guy out there that never got the pickup is going, what the heck?
Yeah, what's going on here? Yeah, it's just, I mean, that was it was a little scary. Anyway, this next thing had me geeking out really hard. I don't know about you, man, but I was geeking out really about this.
So is this picture, okay, so Connections Café and Eatery floor design pays homage to the original EPCOT design. So this picture on Zach Riddley's Instagram is
Go all the way to the right. Go all the way to the right.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Now. Okay.
Yeah. So that's the actual floor. So basically, Zach Riddley on Instagram, if you haven't checked out his Instagram, he posts lots of cool stuff. But basically, the new Connections Cafe has the floor. I know we're talking about flooring, but I find this really cool. There
needs to be some fiber optic lights in this floor. Oh, that would continue.
Right? Yeah. So they built basically it's a copy of the. If you're familiar with the picture of like Walt Disney standing in front of what the plans for the original Epcot were, that big circle image that has like all the circles on the outside and then the transportation going through the middle and all that stuff. they basically took that and built it into the floor of Connections Cafe. And I'm loving that they're doing these kinds of little things that are, going back to the original design for Epcot. I just think it's very cool. And I mean, just even some of the details of this where, what did he say here? Like, the radial layout and celebrate the purposeful geometry and organic symmetry of Epcot. The designs were created with a sustainable biopolymer material, which is 3D printed to provide an intricate template. That line work is then laid out by skilled craftspeople and then poured flooring material. It looks really cool.
Yeah,
it does. Yeah, good.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's very pleasant to look at, and is a good.
It's very Epcot.
Very Epcot and very Disney Imagineering, right? Like this is something that people talk about, we've talked about this too. Sometimes it feels like Disney, they'll do stuff and it's a little too modern or a little too, looks like everything else. More of this, please.
Yeah, or like throwing things that don't fit in, right? Like, so a lot of people are mad about Guardians of the Galaxy being in Epcot, right? So more of this kind of stuff is like shows you that they still care about the original theme of Epcot, right? Like they do care about these things, and I'm sure that there were some Imagineers not happy with Guardians of the Galaxy showing up in Epcot too, right? Like if you're an Epcot purist, I could see that.
That's a bit of a different conversation, and
sure.
I don't see it as a slight against anything to do with Epcot. I'm thinking of it more from the stance of just some of the things we've seen lately. So I'll use the taking the clown away from Boardwalk as an example.
Sure,
we were thinking they put up that mural in front of it, and we were like okay, that's kind of boring. Like
sure,
I get. It seemed like Disney dialed it in, right? That this does not feel like something that was dialed in. Like, no. they put the thought in, they made sure that, they took something that, is a bit of an Easter egg that, most people walking by just go, oh, that's a cool, like pinwheel design or something. But for those people that know, they know.
If you know, is that,
it becomes an inside thing, or it becomes almost like a hidden Mickey, but, a hidden Epcot.
A hidden Epcot reference. Yeah. A hidden original Epcot reference, which is, kind of cool. I mean, it is... I assume that most Disney fans know that Epcot was not intended to be an amusement park, and its onset, right?
If you know what the acronym stands for Epcot.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's true, but I assume that most people know that piece of history, right? That like Epcot was supposed to be an actual working city where people lived and worked and did research, and there were things tried out, that experiments and, science done and all sorts of cool stuff. Right. But like after Walt Disney died, it kind of like that vision kind of died with him. And so then it was like, all right, we'll do a theme park then, like it kind of changed. But I if you don't have that visionary person behind it for something that's kind of a radical idea, especially at the time, right? It's, I get why
even now it's a radical idea, honestly. Even now, it's a radical idea, honestly.
Sure. Yeah, it is a pretty radical idea. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, man, I just love this kind of detail work. I love that they're doing this kind of stuff. And I feel like they've been doing the Epcot reimagining the right way, right? I mean, I feel like so much of what they've done, they've made so many great decisions with what they've been doing with the reimagining there. And I mean, it casts aside the Guardians thing. I mean, I don't have a problem with it, but I know a lot of people will. Right. But the other stuff that they're doing, the things that like the entrance to Epcot now is very, and like the logos, like it feels very much like they're really honoring the original vision of the park, not necessarily of the city, but some of it obviously of the city because we have this cool floor. So
it almost feels like a community of tomorrow.
Almost. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting too, because, and I always go back to Imagineering story, and I'm sure people are tired of me doing that, but, sometimes obviously there's these things that come from above, and like and the Imagineers are just kind of like, okay, well, we got to make this work, right? We got to make this make sense. And in Imagineering story, they talked about how, Joe Rohde actually talks about how when they initially told him they were going to do Avatar, he was like, that doesn't fit with Animal Kingdom. I don't know how we're going to do that. Like, but eventually they make it work and make somewhat sense. But like, I'm sure at some point they brought Guardians to the Imagineers and they were like, well, how does that fit with Epcot? How are we going to fit that with Epcot? And they kind of made sense where you have like a pavilion that's about space and other, but it's still kind of,
in my mind, again, this is just my own headcanon, and I'm sure nobody else would agree with it necessarily, but Xandar in Guardians of the Galaxy could be a template for an Epcot type planet, right?
That's fair.
It does align with that idea of a futuristic, like everyone's working, everyone's functioning together in this big community, right? Like that's the way I've always seen any depictions of Xandar is,
sure.
It feels like, that futuristic, I don't know. Again, it's not even like I keep wanting to say a city, but it's an entire planet.
It's an entire planet
that functions like that. So
yeah, listen, I think you can make it work, right? Like you definitely can make it work, right? But and also it's just a little bit strange too, right? Because Epcot originally didn't really have a lot of IP in it, right? And I think we've talked about this before, and that's why they kind of created Figment, right? Because Figment was an original character to that park, but slowly but surely the IP has been creeping its way in, like, and truthfully, it's been for a little while now, right? You had Frozen, even, I don't know if you would consider
that Shrunk the Kids was in there a long time ago too. What do you like?
That's true. Yeah,
IP's been in there longer than I think a lot of people want to admit.
Yeah, Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, right? Yeah, I remember that one. That was a good time.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I know what you're saying, but I mean, like, it was not, it wasn't a park that you expected like a lot of IP to be in, right? Like Hollywood Studios is basically all IP, right? And Magic Kingdom at this point is for the most part all IP, right? Even now, like with things that were original, like Jungle Cruise, or now have a movie, so are kind of IP now. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's Disney just expanding on it and making sure that they have those right tie-ins. But again, that that is the entire premise of Disney theme parks to begin with, because it goes all the way back to the beginning when he's releasing Sleeping Beauty and he built the castle to line up with the movie release.
Listen, Trevor, I'm on your side. Okay. Like I think it's smart and makes total sense for them to do that. But anyway, yeah.
I just think anyone saying there's too much IP, like you're arguing nothing in my mind. Because the entire premise of how Disney operates is everything is based off of an IP. Even if it's, existed in the parks first, there's been so many things over the years that they've tied into movies. And
don't get me wrong, though, I do enjoy the stories. The attractions that have an original story to them, right? That are not tied to like a blockbuster movie. Like, I think if Disney was doing more of those and not just doing IP, I get why some people are upset about that, right? Because Disney used to make rides that had original stories, but it's really not a thing they do anymore. I mean, I'm trying to even think of the last one they did that was an original story, and I'm blanking completely here. Like,
I mean, there has been like a lot more than you think. Like, even just like, I mean, Animal Kingdom
was all original stories to start off with, right? I mean, like, because
even count like Dinosaur.
Well, that was a movie. There was a movie though.
Well, no, because it was originally Countdown to Extinction, right?
And then they renamed it Dinosaur for that movie that came out that bombed, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then, Everest has no tie-in.
Sure. Basically all of the Animal Kingdom park.
Exactly.
But even that though, now, like, Tough to Be a Bug, you got Avatar, of course, you got, there's Finding Nemo that is going to come back at some point. So Lion King, but those are also like, obvious tie-ins, right? Like you have a lot of and a lot of things in, Disney nature and all that. So listen, I'm not decrying the use of IP. I think it makes sense. I just think there are some people that miss when they would make rides that were like, like a Big Thunder that was not tied to anything. It was just, or even a Space Mountain, right? That was just,
but then
its own story.
So maybe this is a waitlist question that I'm asking here, but then, so where would Disney go next for a non-movie based attraction?
Oh man, that's
because what have they not covered at this point?
That is the problem, right? Like it's like what original ideas are left? It's like, yeah, that's not going to be compared to something that already exists. So
yeah,
you're not wrong. You're not wrong. All right, so we talked about that for a while. Let's go to this next one. So Disney H2O Glow After Hours returning this summer. Now this is an event that takes place at Typhoon Lagoon, and I have never been interested in this because we don't really do water parks in my family. So, my wife does not like water parks. I kind of like them, but like we've never gone out of our way to go to the Disney water parks. So this is one that I'm not necessarily interested in. But Damon wanted to say, this is something I haven't done at Disney that I'm really interested in. Luminous Water Park sounds great. So,
I'm absolutely on board with that too. Obviously we are a water park family. That our biggest problem is that we never go in the summer. So the dates for this are from May 28th to August 27th. That's very rarely will we go during that window, which is unfortunate. But yeah, like I would love to do an after hours water park event like this. One, because like to Damon says, it'd be really cool. The pools lit up, all that kind of stuff would be super fun. I also the heat is a hard thing to stand even at a water park for me. So so nighttime water park sounds perfect from my point of view.
Listen, I'm actually with you. I would love to do this. Because I do like water parks, right? So this would be fun.
Now,
yeah.
No, I guess here's a question for you. You said, you guys were never really interested in it before, but now that you have your daughter, has she shown any indication in, water slides or anything like that? Because I think for me, like, I definitely liked water slides when I was a kid, but I went through a phase where, my wife and I weren't actively going to water parks, like kind of like you. We were just like, that's not a big deal. But when my son came along, now I'm all in back into it because it's something I want to do with him, and I'm seeing it through his eyes.
Yeah, I mean, not right now, right? So like she she does like swim class and stuff, but she has kind of a love-hate relationship with pools at the moment. So
that's fair. Yeah.
So I mean, maybe someday, but right now, no. But for those wondering, by the way, this takes place between 8 p.m. and 11 p.m. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah, I would be in for that.
Yeah, exactly. And it includes unique, vibrant decor, high energy DJ dance party, exclusive glow themed menu items, and more. So it sounds fun. Yeah, like just like I don't know about you, but or again, this may just be me being Canadian, but anytime we would ever go, to California or to Florida, we always found that like even when I was going with my family when I was a kid, we would go down to the pool after dinner, in the evening, when it's getting dark, the pool's lit up. I love that, but there was never anybody else in the pool. Or a lot of the times there wasn't. And keep in mind, like we were going in like February, March, which I think, for people, native to California in particular, they're probably going, no, that's, way too cold to be in the pool. But to us, it was awesome. Like it was, it was the right temperature. So I don't know. It's also worth noting too, by the way. So like, it looks like you get popcorn and ice cream for free as part of the event. And then guests with tickets for the party can actually enter Typhoon Lagoon as early as 6 p.m. So the party doesn't start till 8, but if you have tickets for this, you can actually show up at 6 p.m. I do not see a... Go ahead, sorry.
So you can get a good 5 hours at Typhoon Lagoon. Like that's a good amount of time.
Yeah, especially like once the party starts, because the idea of these after hour events is that they are, really limited, right? So like you don't have a lot of people there, so you should be able to like walk on to everything.
Yeah, hit all the slides pretty quick and do whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Because also like Typhoon Lagoon is not anywhere near as big as like Magic Kingdom, so you should be able to get everything done pretty quick there, and then have lots of time to dance parties or whatever else you want to do.
Exactly. I'm not seeing a price anywhere here. I don't know if they have a price going on. I'm sure. I don't know if they've disclosed that yet, but I also don't know if DVC members are getting a discount on that either. So it's possible though. I mean, you never know. But I'm not seeing a price anywhere. Let me see if I got. All right. Got to do some more. This isn't. I'm not using a search engine this time. I actually clicked on the link that's there. So, all right, here we go. Ticket prices. All right, $75 per adult, $70 per child. They give you a whole $5 discount for the children.
That's not too much more expensive than a regular park admission.
Well, and actually, DVC members or pass holders, $59 for adults, $54 for kids. That's actually pretty good.
That's even better. Yeah,
that's a pretty good price, I think.
Because I think like regular admission is around $60. For the water parks. So, I mean that's paying for a regular day admission. But like I said, the people go, well, it's just an after hours, or it's from 8 to 11. But no, if you plan to arrive there at 6, like for me, we go to the water parks in the morning, and after about 4 or 5 hours, we're usually done anyway. Yeah. Like it's, you don't need to spend the entire day there. That sounds like a pretty good deal.
Yeah. Yeah. And plus all the entertainment you're going to get with this and all that stuff. And by the way, for those that are wondering, the tickets do go on sale March 29th for guests of Disney resorts, Swan and Dolphin and Shades of Green. So you can get in early, but general ticket sales go on sale April 1st. So.
All right.
Yeah. Let's see what else we got here.
Big news thing is the Cultural Representative Program is returning to EPCOT.
That's excellent news.
Yes, that is fantastic. And to quote Damon, woohoo, great news.
And I don't think he means that sarcastically.
No, I know. He's legitimately happy. It's just funny that, we get 4 words for that. Yeah. But
I enjoy Damon just giving like little clips of what he wants to talk about and what his opinion is. So so this is great news, man, because I have to tell you, that definitely felt like something that was missing, right? Because there's something to the whole thing of all the people that work within each one of the countries is actually from that country. It's just it's that immersion was missing. You know what I mean? Like, and I kind of miss that. Because I'd like to talk to the cast members, and learn some stuff. I've always found that really interesting, and it was kind of sad that we didn't, you didn't have that before. So yeah. So, but no, listen, this is great, and I'm glad they're bringing it back. It's about time that they do it. I mean, this is really the first time that they could do it. But the good thing is that they're starting with people that had to get canceled because of in the 2020 program. So if there were participants that were going to be part of the 2020 program and then couldn't do it because the park shut down, they get first dibs at this, which is, I think, an awesome thing for them to do, to give those people that were already accepted a chance to do it.
Right. Which, hopefully some of those people can, because 2 years, a lot can change, and I'm sure they won't have everybody coming back full force. They also did mention that this program will come back in phases. So
yes,
this starts in the summer. So unfortunately, with us going in May, we're not going to be able to start seeing the results of this. But later in the year, you'll start seeing representatives, and then I would expect going into the fall and the winter, you'll gradually see more and more people from different countries coming back.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, this is great news. I'm really glad that they are doing this. That's great. Getting back to somewhat normal.
Okay. Sorry, I wanted to watch this last video here, but
you have not watched the Dapper Dans performing "We Don't Talk About Bruno" from Disneyland?
Yet.
Oh, you gotta watch it. It's really well done. My wife sent this to me because she is on TikTok, and I just, as a person, do not understand TikTok. Maybe it's because I'm not in my 20s, but neither is my wife though. She just picked that up, but take a listen to it. I think it's pretty well done. I mean, of course it's well done. Why wouldn't it be well done? But if you guys haven't seen this, did you? I'm sorry, I'm talking over you listening to this, but
just give me a second.
Somebody has to talk on the podcast, Trevor.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, we'll just stop for a sec so you can listen.
No, I got it now. Yeah, I'll watch it properly later. But no, it's that's cool for starters, and I hope that it feels like the Dapper Dans haven't done stuff like that very often.
I was thinking kind of the same thing, but I feel like recently they've been doing more of it, Right. Like I feel like the past couple of years they've been doing more.
Yeah, and I guess it's not that I necessarily want to hear the Dapper Dans doing just covers of, whatever the latest movie is either. But, it's cool that they're if I would happen to be walking down Main Street and they were doing that, I would definitely stop.
Well, I guess that's my question though. Did they do this just for TikTok, or is this in the rotation? You know what I mean? Like, are they actually performing this at Disneyland, or did they just do it for TikTok?
I feel like they might have a little bit of liberty on some of this stuff, because even I know you say is it in their rotation, but I've noticed with the Dapper Dans, it's not always 100% scripted what they do.
That's true.
Every time,
yeah, that's
right?
true.
They do have a little bit of flexibility to improvise from time to time, it seems, or to change it up. But yeah. I don't know if it's like a roster thing that they have for songs that they can play.
Yeah, that is interesting. Can I give a hot take on this? I want to say we Don't Talk About Bruno is the third best song from Encanto. I just want to say that.
Okay. What's your first two? I want to see if you're wrong.
If I'm wrong. Oh man, what do you mean if I'm wrong? So I think there's a better. I think the Family Madrigal is a better song, personally.
Okay, yeah.
And then I think Surface Pressure is a better song. I think both of those are better songs.
I would agree. The only other hot take I would have is I think I actually like What Else Can I Do?
That one's good
above
too.
Those ones as well. That's actually my favorite.
Really? That's your favorite? See, I think...
Yeah.
I don't know. There's certain things I like about Surface Pressure, and there's certain things I like about Family Madrigal. Like, I like Family Madrigal because there's some, it's just some parts of it that I think are really kind of cool, and just wait. I don't know. It's just a cool song. I find it catchy. I find that one getting stuck in my head more than I think anything. But I get why people are attracted to We Don't Talk About Bruno, right? I get that. And I'm not saying it's a bad song. I like it. It's a good song. I don't feel like it should be the number one on the playlist. I think there should be. I agree with What Else Can I Do? That's a good song too. I mean, you don't have any bad songs on that soundtrack, really.
No, you don't. Yeah, it
is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Because I mean, even I don't know if you saw the thing too with Waiting on a Miracle, where and I don't want to butcher her name. It's Stephanie Beatriz.
Yeah.
Was going into labor as she recorded that. Apparently, did you read that?
Was that? Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. I guess it was that song, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, but apparently, she didn't tell anybody. But I guess she was
she wanted to finish the recording before her.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, which is crazy. But yeah, I mean, I finally did get around to seeing that movie, obviously, and but yeah, like I said, I think I don't know, Surface Pressure, and then Family Madrigal.
Is the playlist on repeat in your house?
Oh man. So I'm not gonna lie. So when I pick my daughter up from daycare, she's usually requesting Encanto to listen to, right? So, but what happens is my daycare is 5 minutes from my house, right? So we're talking just get to listen to the first song of the album usually,
right?
And
so
I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes if I hop back in my car, in between daycare visits, I might let it play the next song.
Mm-hmm.
I might listen to a couple here and there. But yeah, it is on repeat a lot in my house for sure. But my daughter also goes back to Frozen all the time too. So Frozen is still happening a lot in this house. So we're Frozen 2 sometimes, original Frozen sometimes. It just, all three of these are on constant repeat in my house. So
yeah. For us, Encanto, like, actually, now that I think about it, like we were listening to it on Spotify for a bit.
Yeah.
But what actually surprised me was that, my son will, he'll just go down into the living room and put a show on. And for a while there, he was just watching Encanto, which, he didn't, it kind of surprised me, but I get it. Like it's one of those shows that you don't realize how catchy it is. And then, and like I said, it just surprised me because like he's at that age where, his outward appearance is such that nothing impresses him anymore.
That's teenagers, right?
Yeah, brooding teenager, right? So the fact that he actually was like actively watching the show, I was like, oh wow, like that says something.
No, it was a great movie. Did you watch Seeing Red yet? Because I know you were excited about that one since it was
we're watching that tomorrow actually. So we didn't get a chance. We didn't get a chance to the last couple of weekends, but we've all committed to sitting down tomorrow to watch it. So I'll get up to speed on that.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have not watched that one yet either. Although I'm like, which is weird for me, I'm several movies behind on Pixar. Like I've not seen Soul, I have not seen Luca, and I have not seen Seeing Red. Like, so I really need to catch up on those. It's one of those things where it's impossible to get my wife to watch a movie, like absolutely impossible. But I know if I watch them without her, she's gonna be like, "Why'd you watch that without me?" Like
I'll admit I'm that person in the house.
Okay. So your wife's the one trying to get you to watch movies, and you won't watch movies.
Yeah, I find it hard because I have other things that I want to do, and committing to sitting down for a couple of hours, like it, and that's why like tomorrow we all agreed to sit down and do it, because I was like, okay, I have some time, before I fill it up with anything else that I want to do. Let's sit down and watch the show. I've learned to not get upset about, because I didn't watch Luca either. My son watched it out, but I was kind of like, okay, that's fine. Because I realized that if he wants to watch it, I'm not gonna tell him no, because he's allowed to watch whatever he wants at this point. So, but yeah, I'm just not that person that can sit down and watch a lot of movies. I guess. I
get it.
I have a threshold that, like, after I've watched like one or two movies, I'm like, okay, I need to do something else. Whereas my wife, like, my wife is like, she'll go through like a week where it's like every night she's picking a different movie to watch. And I just can't do that.
It's interesting. I'm not all that different from you on that, right? Like, so I do like watching movies. The one thing I'm always game for though is Marvel movies. I don't know why, like, because there's certain times where like I will not sit down for like a 2-hour movie, right? But then if it's like, I mean, Spider-Man just came, the newest Spider-Man just came out on video on demand. And I was like, all right, I'll watch that again. Even though I already saw it, I was like, I kind of want to watch that again right now. So, yeah. Do we want to talk about this Mirrorverse thing really quickly before we go, or do we?
Yeah, sure. So what do you know about Mirrorverse? I've known about Mirrorverse for a while. I actually played it, a while ago, because it's been in beta for quite some time now.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's a mobile game. I guess
it's a mobile game.
So Mirrorverse is a mobile game where you get different characters from different Disney universes, and it's an overarching story where I don't want to say it's like Kingdom Hearts, because that's not fair. It's not as convoluted as Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah,
but it has like the characters all have their own, like, it's a different twist on what you would normally see from them in the shows that they star in. So, I mean, I played it for a little bit in beta, but so what do you know about it?
Nothing. I just know that this announcement came out and it looks kind of cool. Like, I like the how they take these Disney characters and they're making them like, I don't know how to describe it, right? Like there's just it's making them like bigger, stronger, and like
very role playing game characters, right? Like Belle is like, she's got the staff with the rose on it, and Donald very much reminds me of Kingdom Hearts Donald. Like,
okay,
just
Sully looks pretty cool though. Sully's got like a whole like set of armor that like looks like like that looks cool to me. And then Merida looks really cool too. The way they have Merida in the one picture, yeah, man, like that's really cool. And the genie looks awesome. Like, it just looks cool.
Yeah, and actually, I just noticed. So in the announcement here that so the mobile game is officially launching June 23rd. But like I said, I played the beta a while ago. It wasn't bad, but I guess it depends on how you feel about mobile games, because it was very much a typical mobile game in that there was a lot of like doing. If you played any other mobile game, like it's like you do like daily quests, you do
that
leveling
kind of
up your characters, all that kind of stuff. Like it had a lot of that. But one thing I did notice is that they also have, or I guess they're going to be releasing collectible figures in line with this that are made by McFarlane Toys.
That's
which,
cool.
If you know McFarlane Toys, Todd McFarlane made Spawn, and has a whole kind of empire around figurines and comics and stuff like that. So the toys or the figurines that he makes are usually pretty good.
These look cool too. Yeah, these look really cool.
I have a couple of his figurines that I've collected over the years. Because I'm an anime fan. If anyone knows the anime Akira, do not watch the show with your kids. By the way,
I like the disclaimer. Yeah, it's always good.
Yeah. Do not watch Akira with your kids. But I have some of the figurines from McFarlane, which they're fantastic. And
man, this Captain Jack Sparrow one they have is really cool too. I mean, like these are cool. What?
I kept my figurines in the box, if anyone's wondering.
Oh yeah. Well, if Damon was here, he'd already be yelling about that. He's like, "Oh, you got to buy two, so you can play with one."
No, I have all mine, but they're all in their boxes right now. So
yeah, I mean, well, these two are like really cool because they call them ultra articulation, so they have 22 moving parts for full range of motion. So, which is
that would require taking them out of the box.
Well, yeah, that's exactly right. That's why Damon buys two, right? That's he's got to buy two so he can play with one. So anyway,
yeah.
All right. Well, why don't we wrap this up? We got another long episode on our hands here, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. I think we had a lot of good stuff to talk about today. So
I agree.
Hopefully our listeners enjoyed it too.
I agree.
All right. As usual, if you guys want to reach out to us, make sure you fire us an email at welcomehomepodcast@gmail.com. We love getting your questions, just like Allison with the listener question at the beginning. Or sorry, not Allison, Alicia. I'm sorry, Alicia. That was my bad.
It's okay.
Yeah. So yeah, if you guys want to, send us an email, please do. We'll, we love hearing your questions, sharing your trip reports, stuff like that. If you want to follow us on social media, make sure you follow us as Welcome Home Podcast on Facebook, and check out the Welcome Home Disney Waitlist, which is our Facebook group for a place to chat with other listeners and, catch all the memes and stuff about the show. You can also follow us on YouTube as Welcome Home Podcast and Instagram as Welcome Home Pics. We are going to have our meetup coming here in May. Definitely keep an eye on those channels as we get to posting stuff and doing videos and stuff of our trip. And if you want to actually help support the podcast, you can go to store.welcomehomepodcast.com and check out our merchandise. We got mugs and t-shirts, fanny packs, if that's your thing. And if you would rather support us on Patreon, go to patreon.com/welcomehomepod and check out some of the different Patreon offers we have there. Patreon does have exclusive merchandise that you can't get on the store, and it also gets you access to our Discord server if that's another way that you would like to interact with us and our listeners. Also, if you guys are listening on iTunes or Spotify, please consider leaving us 5 stars or writing a review. Those do help other people find the podcast. So that would be nice, because I think we've obviously been doing well in Switzerland, but I think we need to expand out a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. So, and of course, also don't forget to subscribe to Welcome Home Podcast so you can be reminded every time we release a new episode. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, just about any place you can find podcasts. You can find us. Of course, just search for Welcome Home and the one that says DVC and Disney. Just a reminder to our listeners, Welcome Home Podcast is for entertainment only. We are not employed by the Walt Disney Company, and as such, all opinions we express on the show are our own. So please consult your DVC representative or Disney cast member for more information about anything we talked about today. Huge thank you to DVC Resale Market for sponsoring this episode, and of course, World of DVC for being our continued partners. Join us next time for more Disney Parks discussion. Of course, support DVC Talk. We hope to see you all real soon.
This is Skipper Albert Awol, the voice of the jungle, signing off from Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Do a huddle when we hit a chair. How she can cuddle is no man's affair. I looked around from pole to pole, found her in a sugar